So earlier this morning, President Trump, known as the early riser, despite being a one-page kind of guy, uh, in the middle of executive time, decided to do some tweeting as he is normally wont to do. And of course, this tweeting involved the Mueller investigation, as usual. Writing on Twitter, the president is basically claiming victory, sort of, over an announcement by Senator Tom Tillis. Now, earlier this week, the committee that is basically set up to find any sort of collusion between the president's campaign and the Russian government announced that they so far had found no evidence of that collusion. Now, I've said over and over, get into his tax returns, his financial transactions. That's where the real story is. You may not find collusion, but you might find money laundering, which could lead to evidence of collusion if he is working with Russians to launder money. I'm just saying that that's where I would go. And I'm actually kind of worried that Mueller is not going in that direction. Ugh. But anyway, during the early hours of executive time, Trump tweeted this. He said, "The mainstream media has refused to cover the fact that the head of the very important Senate Intelligence Committee, after 2 years of intensive study and access to intelligence that only they could get, just stated that they have found no collusion between Trump and Russia." No collusion. Well, okay, look, that's a Republican investigation into a Republican president. So take that as you will, right? I have no trust in Republicans. I have no trust in people, especially people who support the president and the president's agenda. So let's just be fair on that, right? And look, would I trust a Democratic investigation into a Democratic president? Maybe a little bit more so than a Republican investigation. But then again, that also could be a conflict of interest. But anyway, if he had stopped there, okay, look, I get it, right? But then he followed up with this. "It is all a giant and illegal hoax developed long before the election itself." Really? You think that they went back before you won and said, we're going to make up an entire conspiracy on Russians interfering in the election to go after somebody who we didn't think was going to win in the first place? Yeah, okay. But used now as an excuse by the Democrats as to why crooked Hillary Clinton lost the election. Someday, the fake news media will turn honest and report that Donald J. Trump was actually a great candidate. Now, let's unpack that, right? So basically, he says that this is, it's fake, it is a hoax, and it's giant, and it's illegal, right? So he's saying the investigation itself is illegal. Well, what's illegal about investigating possible wrongdoing by the president of the United States? You would want to make sure that there is, if he or she, or whoever becomes president, is accountable and can't just go and do whatever they want and be deeply corrupt, right? But Republicans are saying, oh, no, it's our guy. When our guy's in office, it is deeply illegal to investigate the president. But wait, didn't the Republicans investigate President Obama for years? Yes, they did. Benghazi, right? They also investigated Bill Clinton for Whitewater and then eventually impeached him over something that was not related to Whitewater. We're getting basically a blowjob from an intern. Are you saying then, Republicans, that those investigations are illegal? I mean, politically motivated and a giant waste of money, absolutely, but illegal? Are you sure they're illegal? I mean, do you want to go down that road? Now, of course, President Trump is looking to protect himself, and he's not worried about Republican presidents that will come after him. But here's the thing, the irony. If Hillary Clinton had won the election, the Republicans would very likely be investigating both Benghazi and the emails. Guaranteed. But okay, in all that, there is something that he actually is right about. Establishment Democrats and Hillary Clinton do use Russian meddling as an excuse as to why they lost the election. Of course. Russian interference, such as it was, I think was limited to memes, advertisements, and buying social media ads on Facebook. Now, look, you could say that, oh my God, they bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Facebook ads, and then they posed as bots and trolls and tried to turn people against each other, right? Okay, but Hillary Clinton's team also spent millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars on, well, yes, a lot of television ads, but they also did spend money on social media. They actually spent far more, I should say, than the Russians, and I think had more of an impact on the electorate than Russian memes. The problem, I think, is this was a unique election where we had two candidates that were deeply, deeply unpopular. One was running as a corporatist and member of the establishment versus somebody who was attempting to be a populist. So, but nonetheless, let's get back to the claim here that the Mueller investigation is a complete hoax and that it's an illegal hoax, right? Now, so far, the investigation has secured a lot of guilty pleas or convictions from people in Trump's orbit. For example, you had former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, Deputy Trump chairman Rick Gates, former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, and former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, all getting, doing guilty pleas, right? Last week, you also had Trump ally Roger Stone indicted on charges of perjury, obstruction of justice, and witness tampering. So most of these convictions and indictments came from lying to law enforcement. Now, why is everybody around Trump always lying? Constantly. That's curious. And why is it that a lot of those lies seem to be something that's related to meeting with Russians? That's weird, right? Now, let me tell you what's not going to happen. The media coming by and saying Trump was an amazing candidate. No, that's not going to happen. Or wait a minute, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I guess a couple of good examples already happened. You have John McCain. John McCain recently passed away, right? The media couldn't help but pour praise on this guy. But wait, John McCain was not a good person. He was a warmonger, somebody who never met a war they didn't like. Not only that, you're George H.W. Bush. Also a pretty terrible person. He was even involved with Iran-Contra, right? Odds are, and this is what's scary about so-called mainstream media, if Donald Trump does something warlike or gets us into a conflict, well then, there's a good chance the establishment, once he's gone, will praise him. We've seen it happen with George W. Bush. George W. Bush is now rehabilitated thanks to the awfulness of Donald Trump. If there's somebody worse than Donald Trump, then you better believe that just like George W. Bush, they're going to rehabilitate Donald Trump in some form, in some fashion. I mean, look, we've already seen examples of that. You guys remember Brian Williams? When Donald Trump launched all those missiles into Syria, the mainstream media could not help but contain their praise, which is kind of scary. I mean, Brian Williams, the missiles, it's so beautiful, American might. This is the day that Donald Trump became presidential. Ugh. So the scary thought is, what if all President Trump has to do is start a war for the media to fall in love with him? Oh, that's scary, man. I hope Donald Trump, look, I know he's a stupid person. He is not smart. He is not a very stable genius, right? I just hope that he's too stupid to realize that. Because if he does, we're in big trouble. Far, far more than what he's tweeting about. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation. set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.